Welcome to the Chase Merrell podcast. I am your host, Chase Merrell, and we are all about helping people get freed up from what's holding them back so they can build up who they were made to be.
On this week's episode of the podcast, I have my friend Sano Mageo with me. Sano is one of those life bringers. Wherever he goes and whoever he's with, he is usually the life of the party. But beyond just being the life of the party, the dude infuses life into others. And he's infused life into me over the past 5.5 years. He's been a friend that I didn't know I needed. He's been somebody that's walked with me through really difficult times, some low valleys and some high mountaintops. And he's overcome a lot in his own life. Sano is going to be one of those conversations that you are super thankful that you listened to, and I'm super excited to share this with you today.
If you want to help us continue to make an impact with this podcast week in and week out, consider joining our new Patreon community. For as little as a cup of coffee a month, you can be a part of helping us get the message and mission of the podcast out to more people more effectively. This is a way that we can come together as a community, and you'll get access to behind the scenes stuff, additional resources and content, and so much more for just as little as $5 a month. You can head over to chasemerrell.com and click Patreon to jump in and get started. Today's episode of the podcast is sponsored by Frontline Coffee Co. Delicious, bold, and expertly roasted small batch coffee for the everyday American. Frontline is not just about coffee. They're about supporting responders on the front lines, courageously caring for the rest of us. With every Frontline purchase, a percentage goes to supporting the brave men and women who are doing just that. Head over to frontlinecoffeeco.com and use promo code FREEDUP. That's FREEDUP, all one word, FREEDUP, to get 15% off your purchase. Now let's jump into today's conversation. Well, I'm with my friend Sano Mageo. You're going to have to say your name like the for real way. Because
sure.
if I was saying it straight up just like how I read it and how I like think it's just Mageo, but you've got...
It's so in Samoan, the G has a silent N.
Okay. Before the G.
So it's Mageo.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Sano Mageo.
Yeah. And man, welcome to the podcast.
Come on.
It's
good to be here.
Yeah, this is so cool, man. So this is the 52 Project, where 52 people made an impact in my life, having a conversation each week, and you are on the list, have been a significant part of my life, especially over the past 5.5 years since my wife and I moved up here to Olympia. Mm-hmm. And we get to do this in person. You're here, man. Thanks for being here and making the time to do it.
It's a pleasure. I love being here. Thank you.
Yeah. So what I'd love for you to do, just to kind of get into it, for those that are watching that don't know who you are, like in any context, like give them a snapshot, like who you are in this season of life, like where are you at, what are you doing, and maybe who you're connected to from a family side. So that way there's some context for those that, there's going to be a lot of people that listen that know you, but those that don't, I want some of those people to know who you are in this moment.
Yeah. I would start with just the family of origin, the family I come from.
Yeah.
So Samoan and in Samoa, family and faith is a big deal.
Yeah.
So my parents immigrated here, and I was born in Fort Lewis, Washington. And so I'm the youngest of 6 children. My parents are celebrating their 60-year anniversary in like a month and a half.
No way.
So they just worked hard and loved us well. And so we have a big family, and we're all local, 45 minutes within each other. And so that's something that I really love. I'm also a father of a 16-year-old, beautiful, amazing young woman. I mean, professionally, I work at a creative marketing agency. Yeah. And so I am an accounts executive, clients ally. I work with owners and business leadership teams to help grow their companies. And then I'm a coach. I've been coaching for some years. U17, we all started though when they were in first grade, and now they're all sophomores.
For those that don't know what U17, what sport?
Under 17 soccer.
Yeah.
So I coach 16 to 17-year-old girls. Yo, pray for me.
Like since they were in first grade.
Now, so what's crazy is that I met a couple who I sold a car to, because I used to run a car dealership, and they were coaching that age, and they invited Ulale to play. They happened to go to the church that we ended up going to, and then they coached only for 1 year. Then my brother took over for a few years, and then I took over 3 to 4 years ago. But I'm a dad coach. I never played soccer. So like I read a book, watched a couple of YouTubes, and then I just faked it. I didn't know what I was doing the first couple of games. But the way that the Lord has blessed and encouraged, and I brought in some really good assistant coaches. So I would say I'm an encourager. How about that? A U17 encourager? But
I've been to a game or two, and it doesn't appear like you are just a dad coach. Like the way your passion level, you know.
I just watched Chuck Knox from the Seattle Seahawks.
Let's go.
And George Carl. So like, how do they roll on the sidelines?
Yeah, let's go.
Nah, you know, it's funny when you really do something you love, which is care for these young girls, you really want to do your best. And so I studied hard, and we did really good. This season's a little bit challenging. We had our first losing season, and since I can remember. But the beauty of how these ladies have come together, it's not about the record, but it really is about the culture and just being there for each other. So it's been a really challenging season, but a really good season. So, but yeah, I would say a beloved son, an encouraged father, a blessed friend, a coach that's really thankful. And I would say professionally what I do is what I do. But I think if I would share who am I love and hold relationships really close to my heart. And so I'm on mission wherever I go. And when I say when I'm on mission, I just want to be present with people.
So I mean, on that, when I look back to how our relationship started, like why you're here today, basically, that's why. Like it's because of how you've been so intentional and present with people that you've known for a long time, and people that you have just met or have heard about. You know, like the way that you don't put people in categories is like. And that goes for a lot of different categories, which I'm sure we'll talk about some of that in just a minute too. Because even before jumping on, like, you know, before I started recording, you know, part of our journey in relationship too has been just the reality of different like cultures and ethnicities and races, like not races, human race, but like just the whole world of how to like not see and put people in the same kind of boxes.
Totally.
That a lot of people do.
It could be easy to do too.
Oh yeah. But like I've just watched you from the very beginning of our getting to know each other. Just be somebody that in every category, like you've been like, there's no boxes. Like,
can I tell you though?
Yeah, go for it.
Can I tell you though that sometimes it's a good thing and sometimes it's a bad thing? Sure. Because I'm not everyone's cup of tea.
Sure.
And so on the other end too, it's kind of like, yo, I don't know who that guy is. So I'm authentic.
Yes.
And
yes, you are.
And I'm really thankful. So that's good.
When Holly and I came up here back in 2017, and like to kind of check out, is this where God's calling us to be? When we were considering praying about moving up here, there was our pastors, great friends, obviously both of us, but you guys have been really close to for the last several years. Pastor Jonathan Kobler. We're celebrating the 20 years of being married and had like a 20-year anniversary kind of dinner that we got invited to because we were up here being interviewed, and they're like, you guys should come to this. And so we felt like we didn't necessarily belong yet because everybody there was family and friends, people really near and dear to their hearts. But like you were the MC of the kind of night, you know, outside of just being a great friend and being there to support. And that was my first introduction, the way that you just carried yourself and you engaged people and you were genuine in every moment, but it was just natural in how you were communicating. And I thought to myself, sitting at that table, I was sitting next to Mike Barker and
shout out to Mike.
Yeah. What up?
That guy.
Mike Barker.
I love that guy.
And thinking to myself as you were kind of going in and out, and I thought like, man, if we do come up here, like, I really hope I can get to know that guy. Like, I hope it's not just like a church surface kind of thing. Cause I had heard you went to the church we were about to come, be on stop at, but there was this thing that was like, man, I hope I get to know this guy and have a relationship with him in a way that's like not just surface and nominal. And just little did I know, I don't even really know how it began when we did move up, and maybe even or remember better, but I know that at some point we started to do like a coffee once a week or once every other week, kind of a Bible study coffee check-in, challenge each other in our marriages and as men of God, and I mean just things that as fathers, where I kind of, from my recollection, that's kind of really where it started, where I was like, okay, like I'm actually getting to know this dude, and he's getting to know me. And that started something for me that to this day, as I'm sitting here, right? September, August of this year will be 6 years of being here for Holly and I.
Let's just stop right there. You're going to be here 6 years.
Dude, it's crazy.
It's wild.
It is wild. It is so wild. And you've said this a few different times when we talk about life and some of those things, but we came up with one kid.
Yeah.
And we have 4 now, right? And 6 years it feels like a long time, but also it feels like it's flown by. But what I have now, what I hold close to my heart when it comes to who you are, bro, is you are one of, I have one hand of people in my life that, like, for me, I know you can have that basement of my soul exposed, and I'm not ashamed of it, or I'm not afraid to allow you to see the absolute worst, and also celebrate without any reservation the best.
Yeah.
Like you have created a space in my life relationally where, and Holly, I've told her this several times, like Sano's like my guy. Like he's a guy I can know will be battling with me in prayer, ask me the tough questions, encourage me, follow up even after I don't respond. All those different things that really define authentic and healthy and incredible friendship. But to think from the day I was sitting at the table at the 20th anniversary thing in August 2017 to here we are, in 2023, summer of 2023, and you go like, man, what I wanted to have, I have
right
now with you, and man, the impact you've made on my life over these almost 6 years has just been immense.
Yeah. Thank you. I as I think about that night, I didn't even know what I was doing. Kobler goes like this. Hey, so it's my anniversary. We're having this party.
Yeah.
If you could just grab the mic and just kind of host. I'm like, oh man, I can grab the mic. But then I'm like, okay, what do I do? I don't even know the next steps. What's the agenda?
Yeah.
And so I was kind of like just ad-libbing that whole night. But at the end of the day, like, we're all family. Yeah. And like, even you and Holly, as I met you, there was a genuineness. And also Kobler did share who you were. Yeah. And so I was like, oh man, if they were to move up here, that'd be really dope to get to know and connect. And then you did. Yeah. We did have coffee and we got to know each other. I mean, you're a big Hawks fan. I'm a big Hawks fan. You're a big Russell Wilson fan. No, I love Russell Wilson too. But what are you getting?
Just because, he needs to get a shout out.
Oh.
He'll just be here for a little bit and He'll be here for a little bit, and I'll take him away.
I love Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson's the man. Yeah, he brought us a championship in 2012.
He did, bro. He did.
And then he took away a championship in 2013.
It's the worst way
but I would
of
say,
thinking about it, but it's true.
I mean, we could talk about Russell all day. But looking at the last 6 years, the gift of what the Lord has done and is continuing to do in bringing authentic friendships, especially your friendship. I mean, and the way it has progressed from check-ins, coffee, to chess, to just really raw moments, where sometimes it's unspoken and tears are shed. I've really appreciated, and as I listen to you, I'm thinking to myself, I mean, that I said I'm a thankful friend. Like I think, when everything is said and done, it's friendships and relationships that really are going to matter. So grateful for you.
I appreciate that. And I think one of the things I realized too, because we moved here in that August and September, within a week or two after we officially moved in, Pastor John's dad passed away. And I heard about how you and I believe it was Ronnie, just dropped everything and flew out to Michigan to be there for, his memorial. To be there for Pastor John and but I heard about that. I just heard about the we're going to be there. We're going to be there for our friend, And I just like that kind of described you. Like if I were to be like, how do you kind of describe the kind of person Sano is? It's that kind of dude who's like, it doesn't matter. Like when it's that relationship, you're in the corner or in the trench or in the pit. Yeah. Or on the mountaintop with somebody. Totally. And I just think I don't see it. I think part of why it's so impactful is because I just don't see it a lot. I don't see a lot of people. I see a lot of people like talk about the concept of that or like hope and want to have it, but I don't see a lot of people embody it and embody it over time.
Yeah.
I think I've seen it in people's lives, like in like little spurts, but it doesn't sustain like that kind of intentionality with relationships and willingness to put others first.
Yeah.
In like the selfless, not the like unhealthy, I don't ever take care of myself way, but like the genuine, like, no, I'm good and I'm secure. I can take care of others and I die to flesh to do that. I just haven't seen that very much sustained and I have in your life. And I think it's a part of who you are. Obviously, like, it's not accident. It's intentional, but it is very much part of the way that you live your life. And that's why it makes it such an impact on so many people.
When you say that, it has a lot to do with the people that you're around.
Yes.
That shapes you, right?
Sure.
And so, like, I'm one of 5 brothers, and then I have a beautiful, amazing sister. I have a lot of amazing cousins and uncles and aunties.
Yeah.
And, just going back to culture, we didn't have a lot when my parents came to America.
Yeah.
And sharing was everything. And there's something beautiful that is shaped in your heart when you have very little material-wise, but then you have everything heart-wise.
Yeah.
And so when you're shaped by a community of people that just love you fiercely, will stick up for you, will fight for you.
Yeah.
Really just, that's really what was built inside of me. So when it comes to whether it's barbecues and luau's or just gatherings, I just, I want the best seat at the table for the person who really thinks like they don't deserve to be there.
Yeah.
Right. I want the first plate of food with the best things to be to someone else. And, and I'll take a Hawaiian roll with a side of ham. But I just, I was just raised by really amazing, loving people that are cutthroat too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey,
yeah.
Cutthroat.
Yeah.
When I say cutthroat, not to me, but like, yo, do not mess with my kid brother, my kid cousin.
You cross our family.
And so for me, I'm fierce in that way with friends of mine to love and care for. And I'm blessed. So
yeah. One of the big things that's been a part of our friendship too has been the way the Lord's used you to challenge me, to educate me, to help me see a lot of life through a different perspective, but in like specifically in just the world of like, I think part of what brought it on really was over the last couple of years where things, not like it's new, it's been very much obviously a thing, but like the last couple of years have brought a lot of things to the surface in regards to race, in regards to minorities and the people of color. And I realized that I hadn't, until we had started our friendship, I hadn't been around someone in a friendship, like in a depth of friendship way, that was able to like be honest with me, but still love me, and honest and love me through like even ignorance and things that like I just wasn't able to see based on my own upbringing or based on my own experiences, but also be like unafraid to challenge me.
Yeah.
And we have had some challenging conversations and moments over the years, but I look back on like the way I view a lot of things now in that space. And I'd love to talk about it just for a minute because I feel like it's important. And I want to highlight how the positive sides of how having somebody in my life who was willing to be like, yo, you may not be seeing this right. I still love you. Like, I'm not going to like unfriend you in life because of your ignorance here or your inability to see the things that I'm seeing or how I've experienced. But I'm also not going to be quiet about it, and you've really helped me in that way. Like, I feel like you've helped me grow, and I still have a lot of growing to do, but we've had some challenging conversations over the last couple years in some of those moments about that. Will you speak to that for a moment? Like, just like some of what even in the last few years of, from things like George Floyd, from things like the stuff that's been in the media and the stuff that's not, but like you got a passion for this world of things. But I believe and I think it's from a really healthy lens and it's a really healthy like posture.
Yeah. I would say, I don't know what I don't know. And when I don't know, man, Lord, may you bring good friends around me to encourage me and see the gaps and speak into it. And I would say in our friendship, and I think in the last few years, there's been a lot of difficult conversations that has been avoided and then also has been talked about. And it could be divisive. What I loved about us is that we could take a hard conversation and really just, say, Lord, tender our hearts to just hear.
Yeah.
But where I was coming from was that it's at the cost. Like I don't mind saying things at the cost of our friendship.
Totally.
Trusting on the other side that he will listen and hear and can we walk through it. And I think that's where people avoid certain hard topics is because they're like, if I say it, there's going to be cost and I don't want to really disrupt. And I think it's in the uncomfortable where God really grows us. And so when it came to Olympia, Washington, so for those who are listening to this, I was born and raised in Tacoma, Washington. A little bit more diverse. Being a military brat, my dad was in the Army. We grew up on bases, so very diverse. And so coming to Olympia, you're looking at a different demographic where it's mostly white. And then people are gravitated towards things that are familiar.
Sure.
And so, it's not a knock. It's just human nature.
Right.
And so usually when I talk to people, they have one black friend, one brown friend, a couple of Asian friends, but mostly their demographics or their friendship looks just like them.
Sure.
And so I think it's a natural sense, and it really takes intentionality to kind of like diversify and say, okay, there's things I don't know and I want to like invite. I think dining room tables are the best mission fields that people can like experience and cook different foods and different backgrounds, and not just even with race. We're talking about just America in general.
Sure.
And just have great conversations. And so I think where we were led is we talked about George Floyd. We talked about a couple of things, and I just wanted to make sure that our friendship isn't cookie cutter. Our friendship isn't just and can I say it's always Jesus, and Jesus is always at the center. But there's hard things that can we just talk about, and can I just share with you? And so like I think one of the things I sent him I sent you the letters from Birmingham jail. But then what I also sent you was the letters from Birmingham jail that Martin Luther King Jr. wrote. Like the context of it is that he wrote it on newspapers that got smuggled out, that actually got printed. But it was a response to actually bishops, pastors that kind of said, why are you disrupting? Why aren't you just waiting? And so it was just given the context of that conversation and that time period, and to say like, okay, fast forward 30, 40 years later, and in similar ways, we're still having those conversations. Right. I think we've gotten to a place that is a lot more beautiful. And I think, for me and Ulale and a lot of great things have happened, but there's still a lot of dialogue and conversations and things that we need to connect on.
Yeah. And your conversation about like the cost piece of like being willing to consider that cost of what could be. And a lot of people aren't willing to do that. And so they don't say anything, or they're not willing to challenge or bring something up in that space. That's so real. And I think, what I begin to see even as we continue to talk, because we had built a friendship and had lots of talks of like that weren't surfaced for a few years before some of this stuff, even in the last couple of years, just started to come to the surface more and more in, the years that were right before and during and after COVID. And so we had some relational equity, which was significant. Like I really was able to be challenged from my seat by some of the things that you wanted or were willing to challenge me on. But I had the foundation of like, oh, this dude's already challenged me in other areas before, and I know he's challenging from a place of love, or we've like disagreed on some things,
totally,
and but still found a way after the disagreement to be like, but like our hearts are still submitted to Jesus, and we still love and care about each other.
And it's really keeping the main thing.
Totally.
Right. And then the things that come through our friendship, we will walk through it.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I would say the cost too. Let's just go back to the dining room table.
Yeah.
The uncomfortability of inviting strangers to a table to cook for them. People don't even cook in general these days.
Totally.
Right?
Totally.
People fast food.
Totally.
They
It's
Uber
all fast,
Eats.
all
They
quick.
do all the things.
Convenience.
And there's an experience of chopping vegetables, putting a little extra virgin olive oil, putting a little garlic, a little onions, marinade. I mean, and then having the conversation in between, setting the table, having them bring dessert, getting to know. And there's a cost of uncomfortability. There's a cost of time.
Yeah.
But if you're intentional with your calendar, you're intentional with your neighbors, you're intentional with those that the Lord is prompting to invite, transformation happens in those moments.
Yeah.
And it's not for the other. God is for me.
Yeah.
And so, I think the ROI on the cost that the Lord wants to bring us to on inviting people that don't look like us, or they don't have similar backgrounds, it's worth every bit.
I 100% agree. And from my seat, like just watching you do that consistently.
But the thing is, men, and we'll just speak on men, because that's, if there's something about me in the last 10 years, my ministry has been really focused on loving husbands and fathers and young men, because knowing what I walked through. I was saved at 34. And so 34 years I lived without Jesus. And, it was, I was going to polish it up. It was a tough life.
Yeah.
Right. But it was a fun life, tough life, but it was kind of like dysfunctional life.
Yeah.
Of essence, because I saw Desi Arnaz and I Love Lucy as the quintessential man. Yeah. Like I said, okay, hey, this guy, he makes the money. He brings home the bacon. He pays the bills. He just wants a hot plate of food and a clean house. How dysfunctional is that?
Yeah.
As a husband and a father, to think that way.
Yeah.
When there's so much more that a spouse and a child needs within us. And so it really is really getting uncomfortable, really getting intentional. And you don't have to invite everyone. But discipleship looks like Jesus, like it's the 1-3-12 method. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And he had one that he loved. He had 3 that was in his inner circle. And he had 12 that he loved, he served, that he trusted. Yeah. And so in a similar way, as the Lord was guiding me, I'm like, okay, Lord, who's my 1? Who's my 3? Who's my 12? Yeah. So
that's will you share just a little bit of the come to Jesus moment and story? Like, just because it's nuts. Like the way that the Lord, I'll let you share it, but I just think and especially the transformation from then till now. You said you were 34, 35?
I was 34. I was at 34. I was a sales manager at a car dealership. And so, working and making money and hitting the quota and surpassing the quota was a big deal. I was a father and I was a husband at the time. But I wasn't doing well internally, soul-wise, mental, emotional-wise. And I had a mentor who really loved me. And he invited me to church over and over and over again. I said, bro, no way am I going to church. And so I didn't know this at the time, but I found out a few years later as I kind of recollect this, said he stopped inviting me to church and he started investing in me. And so he just took personal moments to speak life into me, encourage me. And it was a day that he just saw I was in a really tough season. I was in a really tough season. And he said, yo, Sano, I got this CD for you. And the CD
you remember CDs?
What's that?
Do you remember CDs?
Yeah, CDs, right. I'm just glad I had a car that had a CD player. I'm just joking. So he said, I got this CD for you. It's from a sermon. I'm like, oh, here we go again. But it really is something I think you would enjoy. So that day I threw it in the back of my car. I drove up to Tacoma. My daughter was in Tacoma being babysat, and I was at Fort Lewis, and it was traffic jam. And I went to the back seat, right? Because traffic hits. Let me put some music on. And there's this Jay-Z CD that just came out. I think it was the blue something. Anyways, Rockefeller, hip hop. Grabbed it, put it in. And instead of Jay-Z was a voice. And the voice said, it was the CD that my mentor gave me. And it said, the voice that came out, how are you doing? Is what was said. And I said, I'm not doing well, like vocally out loud.
Yeah.
He goes, God has given me a word to thrive in your life. And I don't think it's just for me. I think it's for you. And if you give me the next 30 to 40 minutes, I believe God wants you to thrive in your life. And I said, man, thrive. I'm just trying to survive.
Yeah.
And so I said, I'm in. I'll give him a few minutes. And within 3 to 5 minutes, I just experienced something within that I just never experienced before. And I was crying within 10 minutes. And then by the end of the sermon, I made a decision that Sunday I was going to go to this church. And so I was going to St. Michael's at the time, not consistently, but instead of St. Michael's, I went to Church of Living Water. And I showed up, and it was a beautiful welcome, and they took me to check in my daughter, and they took me to a section that was a family section, and the person said, would you like me to sit with you? I said, no, I'm good. I thought it was a cult, to be honest with you, because the music was crazy, it was wild. But then when the Bible was open and the sermon started, the pastor just preached the word that I've never heard. And it was the truth. It was scripture. It was an experience that I just wanted to know more. And so at the end, they said, if you're interested in learning how to read the Bible, we have a class next week. And if you don't have a Bible, we have a Bible for you. And please pick it up after service. And so after service, I picked up the Bible. I checked in for the workshop. I made a commitment to show up to the first one. At the first one, I was lost, and the pastor was there. And he says, man, where are you going? I said, bro, you're the pastor. He goes, yeah, but I'm also like here to help. And so he walked with me to discipleship, and I was taught how to read the Bible and understand God's love for me. And it was transformational ever since. And so for the last 10 years, my whole heart was to pursue the Lord and just remind myself that he is my first love. Yeah. And through the challenges and the valleys and through the mountaintops and back to the valleys and to the mountaintops, he's been with me. So, yeah. And then that pastor ended up becoming one of a really close friend of mine and close friends to today.
Yeah. It's so awesome. You mentioned like it kind of felt like a cult a little bit.
It felt like a cult. Yeah. It looked like a cult too.
Well, a lot of people.
Wait, let's do that. Hey, it felt like a cult. Hey, bro, it looked like a cult too. Hands were up in the air, clapping. I was like,
talks like a duck.
Where
could be a
is
duck.
the snakes?
But that one of the things that intrigues me too about like some of your background in sales, like in leading sales teams, your ability to know that world of like intentional marketing and the effort to help somebody see the value of a product or an experience that you're trying to sell, to then sell them. Like, I think to me, it seems, it's interesting to me. And I think if anything, it speaks to the evidence that like Jesus really was doing something, that you came after one CD listening and then you heard one and then you came to the thing that they were doing. Right. And then the thing that they were doing was enough of something real that you were like, I'll sign up to do another thing. Right. And then to actually show up to that thing. So I'm thinking about that process again, from a sales perspective, I'd imagine, all right, I'm maybe putting some of my own, but like, I'd imagine you'd be able to be like, yo, like, I know how to do this. Right. I know how to get people to go and do kind of where, and so if there was going to be some resistance to that, it would have been there really, because your ability to know that space as a person that's been, and yet again, like to the evidence of like, but you did it. Right. Like talk me through that.
Yeah. I would say, no one likes a salesman. No one likes a car salesman. Sure. And so my whole process in caring for people is really seeing, is there a value that I can, and we can go into sales and make a whole new podcast, but I just wanted to kind of set it up.
Sure.
That what separated, I think, me and then our dealership and just the people that I love and cared for and served, is that it was all about relationships. Yeah. Keep relationship the main thing. Right. You don't want to sell a car. you want to provide a vehicle that's really going to be of great value, because then you're not just doing one for one, you're selling a whole family,
right?
Because they trust you,
right?
And so as I walked into this whole kind of scenario,
right,
the one thing that, even though the music, the hands, it was just so much, man. I was just thinking to myself, just really be still and try to understand the heart.
Yeah.
And is the heart real?
Right.
And even the worship, you could tell, was real. Like, people were devoted. These words I'm saying now, but like at the time, I knew.
You could feel it.
That the people that I'm looking at, like they're really in it. It's authentic.
Yeah.
I didn't know a darn thing of what they're doing.
Yeah.
And it looks really crazy, but they're in it. So, okay, cool. Yeah. Let's unpack this. It was when Pastor John, and then Pastor Bird, and then Pastor Fawn, and then Pastor Tim, and because I was like, oh, I'm going to give it a few months. Yeah. So I'll do this workshop. I'll give it a few months, because
just that that lineup right there, like that's like an all-star lineup. It was wild. Of people to like,
and they were really genuine.
Yeah.
Off the platform than just as much as on the platform.
Right.
And so for me, how the Lord moved through each of them, it was the consistency of his word and his heart and his love.
Yeah.
Wasn't the individual that was delivering. God bless them, though, because, man, were they powerful and obedient. And I'm so thankful for each of them. But where they were at, they were so obedient to God's word, and the way they delivered it to me. Like, I was, okay, I'm getting a helping, but Lord, may I get to the meat, me and you.
Yeah.
And so there was a bridge that was really beautifully walked with me, like, you know. So,
well, I think you identified something that a lot of people, like, because I have.
Did it make sense?
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
I have friends. I have people that I know that listen to this podcast, but that don't know Jesus, don't want to know, totally. have bad experiences in the church space, or not a lot of experience, but they have some opinions about it, and some of them are like the suspect of, you know, what are they going to sell? What are they trying to sell me?
Totally.
It feels like a cult. It feels like there's not a lot of like genuine match mouth versus walk that lines up, and yet I think what I want to highlight is what you experienced was like some genuine, authentic people that pointed you to Jesus in the scriptures,
and then taught me the scriptures.
Totally.
And then me, because I think those particular men, because I was one of those guys.
Yeah.
Like, when you have a fresh encounter with Jesus, everything changes.
Yeah.
When it is presented by people and those people hurt you, then the hurt attaches to the word, and then all of a sudden everything is mangled up, and my heart breaks for that, because the last thing I ever want is for people to be hurt. But the church has hurt people. Yep. I have hurt people. We have hurt people, and there's a process of repentance and all of that. But I think if people really gave Jesus a place in their heart to say, Lord, can you please, can we encounter? Can I encounter you?
Yeah.
Never the same.
Yeah.
I've never been the same.
Yeah.
And it's every day that I ask for that.
Yeah.
Because I don't want yesterday's helping.
Yeah.
I don't want last year's blessing.
Yeah.
Like, today, God has something for me, and God, may my hands be open.
Yeah.
And may I follow you.
Yeah. And that's a good, like, just segue into, since having that encounter, it hasn't all been mountaintops, obviously. Like, I mean, there's probably
not a full plate of food with Kahlua pork, mac salad, rice,
dude, or your chicken, the
island chicken,
dude.
Hey guys, teriyaki sauce, water, ginger.
It hasn't all. It hasn't. It hasn't all been that, and you know, and I'd love to talk about that for a moment, because that journey, the journey that you've walked out since then, but then really even in the last few years, has been a really difficult one. I know for you, and for a lot of people in different seasons over a lot of stuff that's happened in the last 2 to 3 years, but specifically with your journey and where you're currently walking, where you've walked, And on this podcast, one of the questions I talk about, like one of the biggest things this is all about, I don't know if people can see the sign from the screen that it'll be on or not, but like it's to help people get freed up from what's holding them back so they can get built up into who they were made to be. You've had a lot of some of ups and downs of things that, have been some building and breaking and some freeing up and releasing. And I mean, will you kind of just take us just for a moment through what the last few years, just kind of what it's looked like and how Jesus has been real to you in some of the difficult things that you've maybe been challenging to overcome or you're overcoming. Like, how is that Jesus that you encountered, back in when you were, I don't know, how many years is that?
2013.
Okay. So I would say if you were 34, I thought you were, okay. So 10 years ago, that Jesus is still showing up in your life, in very real encountering kind of ways, and impacting how you're navigating and have navigated very difficult things. Like, are you open to giving us just a little bit of like some of what that journey has looked like over the last?
In 2013, when I was saved, I was married, and so and we had a daughter, and how God had journeyed with us from that time for years really was beautiful. I was in community. We met some really special people, and there's mountaintop moments and also valleys, right? Because in that kind of space too, my brother passed away, and the Lord just really was tender and healing and comforting. And so we walked together as a family. In the last few years, I walked through a dissolution that was, I don't know if it was public per se, because I was just off of staff because I was on staff.
Yeah,
I was
we were with us
pastoring
at
life
the church
group
for a while.
Children's ministry. The fruit that was for like 7 years, the last few years has been a really crushing season. And so what can I share? Because I definitely want to honor my family. And in the crushing season, I would tell you this, there was moments of tears, moments of, and even now, loneliness. And not of the family, but just as you transition through a dissolution, and you notice I say dissolution and not a divorce. I choose to say particular words that I believe where the Lord is walking me through. I think divorce is a painful word. I think you say divorce, it conjures up, if not a personal, whether you went through or your parents went through, it could bring up a friendship, it could bring up in relationships, and that divorce is like a tearing. And I think for me, it was a little bit messy. Not a little bit messy, it was messy. But I also believe, and if you're hearing my voice, I'm making a fist with two of my fists, I should say. And it's one, and the dissolution where the Lord led me was to untether. And so instead of a tearing, it was to really just slowly take your hands apart and become two individuals again. And so I would say for me, in the crushing season, I had a choice to give it to the world or put it in God's hands. And I chose it to put it in God's hands. I didn't understand a lot of what was going on. I didn't understand what was to come. So I didn't understand, I didn't understand even the midst of what was kind of happening, even though there was conversation, communication between my spouse at the time and me. But I think at the end of the day, what I really came down to with is that, the 1-3-12 that I mentioned. I realized that I can't care about what others think. I have a beautiful daughter that I have to love and care for. I did have responsibilities that I believe I needed to share with people. But when I did that, I said, okay, Lord, how do I walk this out? I walk it out in a way that the one is Jesus. Me and him all day, every day. Let's go. Highs and lows. Can I just continue to communicate with you? If I continue to just speak to you, Lord, even if it's a mutter, can I do that every day? The 3 was really close friends. May I have no secrets.
Yeah.
And so as I walk through this, can I walk through it with a heart that's bare, so that I have 3 close friends who can love and care, and couples that can love and care for me and Ulele. For Ulele also, we brought in junior high, or should I say high school pastors, and then people that have walked with her as well. And then for the 12, I brought in the families and the people that we have grown close to really just kind of open up and share, like, this is what's happening, this is where we're at. And if there's any questions to my spouse at the time, to communicate to her directly, like, so I don't have to bear that burden to kind of describe anything. And in a sense, I didn't even know. So it's really honest to the other to explain. And so the last few years has been a really growing season, tragic season, healing season, beautiful season, because the Jesus I spoke about 10 years ago, he's the same yesterday, today, and forever. But can I tell you, in the crushing season that I was in, my tenderness and my relationship and my intimacy with Jesus has been closer than it's ever been. And so, and the men that I walked with, it would be a disservice to them. Like I still go to the same church. Like I said, I'm still going to show up. I'm still going to walk it out with these guys to say, okay, hey, the things that I've walked with you, that I've stewarded and shared and cared and led in you, like, now that I'm in the valley, I'm still going to walk with you. But in this case, I'm actually going to be vulnerable and just, okay, Lord, what's happening? I don't know, but cool. Can you walk with me, and can I walk with them, and can you just lead us? And so it's been really authentic and challenging and beautiful, and challenging and beautiful. And I would, go ahead.
Well, I mean, no, I have a comment, but I want to not interrupt the train of thought you have.
Yeah. The last thing I'll say is, my daughter was probably one of the greatest, obviously she's the greatest gift one of the greatest gifts that God has given me. But the leader and who she was, and our relationship as we walk through this, such an encourager, such a prayer warrior, so present in everything. And so there's a lot of details there, but I would just say her encouragement through it all was really beautiful, in the right spaces. And then when it really came to the finalizations, and my community still looked like my community. But they surrounded me, loved and cared for me anew. And then it was a mentor who just said in August, as I was kind of walking through some things, he says, Sano, can I talk to you? I said, yeah. He says, you need to come forth. And I said, what do you mean? I thought I'm not holding any secrets. He goes, no. Like Lazarus, I need you. Jesus is saying, come forth, Sano. Come out of the tomb. You've been in the tomb for a while. You don't even know you're in the tomb, because you've been in the tomb for a while. But you need to come out of the tomb. And that was this last summer. So 10 months ago. And I stepped out of the tomb, and there was a beautiful, I felt the sun spiritually on my face. I saw Jesus in a different light. I've always had hope. I'm always encouraged, but there's something like of a new breath within my heart. And then in the scripture with Lazarus, it talks about grave clothes, like friends taking off the grave clothes of Lazarus as he comes forward. And I felt like there is things on me that I just couldn't see. So whether it's depression or frustration or anger, just the things that are unholy, I reached out to friends to say, as I come out of this tomb, can you just point out the things that you see that is in me? And so I went through a season. And then I'll talk a little bit more about what came out of that and the beauty of that. But crushing season, tragic, but really intimate with the Lord and healing and birthing a new thing.
Just thanks for sharing. Thanks for being vulnerable in that space. And I know people that are listening that have any kind of resonance because they've either personally walked through something similar or are close to somebody who has. are going to be really encouraged just by the way that you communicated that process, how you processed and walked. And because for me, again, as a friend that was, relatively close to you throughout that time, the thing again that stood out to me, because I have had friends and family members that have gone through really difficult things in life and in relationships and marriages, etc. But it felt like I was watching something rare in how you like you said, 1, 3, 12, Jesus, you and I, 1, 3, real close group of guys, and then 12, some families that are like, but you actually like pressed into your relationship with Jesus in a way that was palpable and wasn't fabricated. I'm sure it wasn't always easy. Like I'm sure it wasn't always like you woke up and you were just ready to go dance with Jesus throughout the day. But you could tell when we would talk, when we would get together, I really had this sense that like you weren't just saying that because it was like the religious jargon to get you through your season. You actually were like pursuing Jesus and allowing him to walk with you and talk to you in each day.
Yeah,
it was so evident, and I want to acknowledge that and just say like, there's probably lots of things that helped in large part carry you through some of that into where you are now, but I just hadn't seen somebody really actually do that the way I watched you do it. Massive. Second thing, okay, I'm gonna say something that may feel like it's.
Do you mind if I just say something really quick?
Yeah.
Are you transitioning from?
No, it's connected to that.
Okay,
so
perfect. No, go. I just want to speak just to men.
Sure.
But
sure.
I want to make sure
Okay, let me say the second piece, and you might be able to even bring two together. Something that I've observed and around people that I've known that go through something like a dissolution or divorce or that process where there's just a lot of hurt and different things in that space. It seems like sometimes what can happen in those moments is one or both of the individuals in that relationship that have children, almost like all of a sudden start appearing like they are a really good dad or a really good mom, or social media even. And it's like out of all of a sudden they start posting pictures and like, I love my daughter, I love my son so much. And it's almost like it took this crazy thing that they're walking out now publicly for them to like more intentionally be a better dad or a better mom that is present and engages with their kids. But it's when that happens. And again, I'm not judging anybody. Everybody's story is unique and different. I don't know any of it or all the details. As people listening they don't know. And so there's judgments aside. Why I'm saying all of this is what I watched you do was continue to build on the authentic, intentional, committed, and priority driven father that you already were before all of this kind of surfaced and happened. And then you just doubled down. Like, it wasn't that you were like, oh, okay, like I haven't been a present father and now I need to look like I'm a present father, cause I don't know what I'm saying. I don't know why I'm saying, but man, I hadn't seen someone like what you've done, which was like, Ulule was a priority throughout the years that I knew you before that took place. And it was evident because you talked about her all the time and talked about the things you saw in her that you were excited about, that the Lord was doing things, joy, trips, movie nights, different things that it was a part of our rhythms of conversation. And I could tell you loved your daughter, and you were pumped about being a dad. And it wasn't like all of a sudden you started, something like this happened and all of a sudden you were, okay, I'm going to be the super dad. But so you already were a really good dad. But then I watched you double down on that and go, no one else matters here in this moment, like in this season, my daughter. And she will continue to be, because she has been, but she will continue to be a priority for me while we're walking this out. And it was beautiful, man. And like you mentioned, a huge I don't want to say props, but testament, huge props to U, because to your point, the quality of woman that she is, and woman of God and leader, and just some of the things that I know that she helped and challenged you in throughout that process as well. Like, she's a quality, incredible human being. But I wish more people would see the example that you have set and let it challenge them to go, like, don't wait for something crazy in your life that's really challenging. Bring the priority of being a good and healthy dad or good and healthy mom to the forefront. I just wanted to acknowledge that. I hadn't seen it the way I'd watched you walk it out, and it just was a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I'll say a couple of things to that. If anyone knows my daughter, she don't play.
Yeah.
And so, like, if I were to even try to twist a story.
Yeah, she called you out.
She called me out. She'll probably post on hers like, hey, no bueno.
Yeah.
This dude's a knucklehead.
Yeah.
But as much as she doesn't play as well, like, she doesn't take, she's one of the most loving people I know. And I have the privilege that the Lord picked me to be her father.
Yeah.
And I actually have the honor of the place that I work. Props to Eric and JP.
Philadelphia. Just in case there's people out there want to know how they can. Some creative marketing.
Yeah. I shared with them as I knew where the Lord was leading me in the season of the dissolution. And I needed to be in a space where I could just, on a drop of a dime, be there for my daughter.
Yeah.
If she's at school and she just needed me, I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm picking her up. We're going to, have Panda. And then we're going to watch Moana 3 times.
Yeah.
And so I think for me, I just knew the season where the Lord was entering me. He gave me and provided an amazing environment and culture and a mission field of where I'm at now, that the owners we communicated to say, okay, in this next 12 months, everything I'm focused on is definitely to kill it at work and to hustle and to grind and to do what God has gifted me to do. But then on the flip side, if there's any needs, if that's where my heart is. And they said 100%.
Yeah.
And so I would say to men, I think our identity could be on a paycheck. Our identity could be on a title. Our identity could be a number of things, but God gave us a mission field, and I didn't succeed in the family mission field. And again, people, we could blame the others. God walked me through, like, okay, this is what you needed to work on. This is where you're at.
Yeah.
As a father, I'm doing everything possible to be obedient and honor and to love and care for her. So I would say too, for the fathers out there, never give up. Never give up. Our children sometimes say things, and not so much but I just walked with men that there's no return calls. There's words that are shared that are hurtful because you hurt them and they just don't want to be with you. You can communicate through prayer, first and foremost.
Yeah.
Like, pray for your children. Another way is, I can list a number of ways, but just don't give up.
Yeah.
Being a father, and however that looks, surround yourself with community and other God-fearing men that have walked through what you're walking through. Be vulnerable. One of the things, Men's 33 is something our church does. And the 4 tenets of a man is to lead courageously, reject passivity, accept responsibility, and invest internally. And dive into authentic relationships, man.
Yeah.
Never give up on your kids, and spend as much time as you can with them before they bounce at 18, 22, 35. I don't know. But spend time with them, man.
Yeah.
Because before you know it, they're going to have families of their own.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. That's the other thing. Okay, man, I'm just thinking about things that I'm like, you, when you would talk about spending time with you, it was genuinely excited.
Yeah.
Like, and that might not sound surprising to you, right? Because it isn't, because it's real. But again, that's it. It stands out because I don't see it. I don't hear it very often.
Yeah.
Like the way you talk about, we can't wait to go on this trip, go to Disneyland. We had this movie night, whatever. I love listening to you talk about the excitement and the joy of spending time with your daughter. And I just wonder, like, I wonder if some men especially need to just lay that concept before the Lord and go, man, I need to, like, why am I not as excited to spend? Why do I get more excited? I'm going to call some of myself in my seasons of life out at times.
Yeah.
Why am I more excited to go play a round of golf for 4 hours away
And not play Phase 10
and
3
not,
times?
Right. Right, but that idea of like
with some hot Cheetos.
Why do I get more joy that begins to stir up at times in my soul?
Yeah,
which everybody needs that space. Everybody needs that time with the guys,
totally.
Right? All that, I'm pro all that hunting.
Yeah.
I go hunting for a week at a time at times.
Yeah,
it's all good. But I think that regular rhythm, if you find yourself getting more excited about other things that aren't connected to your family or your spouse, like that needs to be brought before the Lord and go, Lord, like help me see it in a new light, with a new perspective, and genuinely get excited about the opportunity I have before they are, gone out of the house to go.
Yeah, I really think my family that I was growing up, like my siblings, Christmas, all the holidays, we really spent a lot of close, intimate times of just laughter. Like, if you ever heard a Samoan laugh, you will laugh because it's one of the funnest times. And you don't, again, a lot of people that come to this country don't have a lot, but they have each other. Yeah. And so when you cultivate a space that is of love and care, man, laughter and like marbles, man, and just simple things. Like, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
And I would also say too, outside of my culture, my family, knowing who I am as a son to the Father, the Heavenly Father, and knowing His love for me has really transformed who I am as a father as well. Yeah. And so you ask, okay, who am I? Man, I'm beloved. And I love my mom and dad. They did an amazing job in raising me. But they also had gaps in their lives, being raised by my grandparents. And so, but understanding the love of the Father to me, the forgiveness that He has had with me, the patience that He has shown me. Oh, it really has just cultivated space to me to say, like, all right, I want to know everything about my daughter that she would share without being a pest. Yeah. And then I just want to encourage her. Yeah. Again, like, and family is really big. So I'm blessed to be a father of an amazing young woman. But I'm also really blessed to be a son that really has felt beloved.
Yeah, so good.
Hope that makes sense.
Totally makes sense. Yeah, that's going to encourage a lot of people.
Yeah.
So kind of rounding up the conversation, looking with where God has brought you now and where He's taking you in your life. You know, the idea of freed up to build up, you're really experiencing right now and beginning to step into more of like that, seeing the hope and the joy of what could be in the future, like what God could be building in your life after a season of crushing and feeling like, there's a lot that's been lost here. Like, for some people that are in that still, that sense of like, I'm still crushed and I don't see how I could ever be uncrushed. How I would ever not be feeling like this, like where the hopelessness has overcome them. Yeah. Like, can you give some people some encouragement, and even like just that snapshot of how you've seen God be faithful to you through this process to where you are now, and some of just the redemption of God throughout this process. Because I think people one will be encouraged by just hearing somebody that's walked through what you already shared on this conversation today, but also that God is really a God of redemption and hope. He actually is. Like, it's not just totally in the Bible and people say it in their sermons or it's on a poster board at Hobby Lobby. Like, he really is. How are you experiencing that?
Yeah, my encouragement, if you're listening or you're watching, is that your story has just begun. And you feel like I lived 45 years of life, and I feel my story is just being written. if you're listening, if you're seeing, you see I have a tatau. And what a tatau is, Americans or people say tattoo. And tattoo, if you guys didn't know, derives from the Polynesian word Samoan word tatau, to mark. And so for us, when we apply the tatau to us, it's the story of our lives. And so it took me a long time to kind of decide, like, what is it that the Lord is birthing in my heart? Because before it ever can be marked on my arm, it has to be marked within.
Yeah. And
so a few years ago, I met a guy named Mua, who is he was a tattoo artist, but after the Lord brought us together and he did the tatau, he actually was baptized at Church of Living Water. Him and his wife was reconciled. He sold this tattoo shop, and he's in seminary right now to become a pastor.
That's crazy, dude.
I say all this because you asked about next steps, encouragement,
right?
And I said that your story is just beginning to be written. This tatau on me takes a lot of my shoulder, my chest, my arms, and every little bit of the markings points to my gospel transformation. And so where the Lord has me is that I'm in a beautiful relationship with a best friend, that God has cultivated a space that is really raw. It's really intentional. It's Jesus centered. She has 3 beautiful children. And so I was just talking to Chase before we even did this podcast, like having one child and now cultivating a blending where her 3 children and my child, and now you have 4 children. It's a whole different scenario. For those parents that have 4 children, 3 children and more, you guys are on another level. I was telling Chase, he's like an Avenger to me. Like, parents who have 4 kids plus, 3 kids plus, you guys are superheroes.
Yeah, Holly's like the Avenger.
That's right. I did say that. I said more the moms.
Yeah.
But where God has us is that he's birthing something beautiful and new. He's birthing a new mission field. Chaplaincy is something that is on my heart for the fall that I'm going to go back to university for. And I think where has God taken me? I would say this: I don't know.
Yeah.
But I trust him.
Yeah.
I love him, and my hands are open. And Heather and I, our hearts are synced. It's united. And I'm excited and expectant for what's to come.
Yeah.
There's more, so much more to this because of what God has done in the last 7 months. But yeah, I would just say
the idea of how you feel right now.
Yeah.
In that space of like experiencing some of this joy that you're experiencing right now on the other side of a really deep valley of different, difficult seasons. Did you see that happening?
Not at all.
Not necessarily like, I'm not even specifically talking about a relationship or, more than that, what that could be. I'm talking about this like how you feel right now with how the Lord is bringing you these experiences of joy and hope for what could be. Like, did you see that happening, a year ago, 9 months ago, 10 months ago, 18 months ago, when you were in a deep place? Like, I think because I know the person that might be listening that is like, I can't see it.
Right.
Did you see it? And then like now you're like, yeah, I saw it. Now I'm living in it. Or was it something that like, just how did speak that for a second as we wrap up?
Hey, this guy's asking the question and he knows the answer because a year ago we're having scotch in my living room and I'm just thinking about, I'm just walking a healing journey.
Yeah. Yeah.
And all I want to do is walk it in a way that's raw, authentic, and intimate with the Lord.
Yeah.
So in no way did I have a clue of where I'm at now.
Yeah.
And it's both and. I think what God was doing, he knew, I didn't know. But what I did know is I trust him, I love him, I'm in.
Yeah. Yeah. I trust him. I
Today.
love him, I'm in.
Today.
Not
5 years from now, God, you have my heart today.
It's so good, dude.
And then the next day, I trust him. I love him. I'm in. Let's go.
Yeah.
And so it was a healing journey, and it's still a healing journey.
Yeah.
Like with U and also with Heather and her children, it's still a healing journey of what we're walking through.
Yeah.
This isn't. There are challenges that, of course, come with relationships. But can I tell you the beauty of it all? I never could have imagined the best friend I have today.
Yeah.
Never could have imagined what encouragement and what blessing and what I'm learning from her. The breath of new life from the Lord. And I said this to her the other day, that I think we experience God's love through so many different facets in our lives. Yeah. And the love that is that because she loves the Lord with everything she is, and the way that God breathes in and through her, there is a fulfillment that and a support that I have right now. Yeah. Nothing to take away from any previous, but where I'm at now, I really feel a fullness of the Lord that I didn't before.
Yeah.
And it isn't because of, it is because of a loved one, but it's because of the Lord's shaping and obedience to bring someone in my life that, and happen. And can I tell you, both of us, our names got brought up to both of us when we were both healing. Her husband passed away. I went through the solution. We went through times of healing. Our names got brought up like, hey, just to let you know, because there's not a lot of, I guess, 40-year-old single people out there. So I guess people were just like trying to do matchmakers. Yeah. And so someone brought me up to her. She goes, no, I'm healing. Someone brought her up to me. I said, I'm not even in the place to be healthy for anyone. And then when the Lord brought us into a healthy space, and a Costco hot dog kind of story came out, and she texted, I texted, and okay, for her, I texted, and then she texted, whatever it may be. We texted for 3 hours. Yeah. And then we called each other for a few days, and then we took a walk, and then we went to a worship night. Then we went to a first date. Like, it was really just something special. So I would just tell people, don't look to the other side. Yeah. Hug the cactus. Yeah. Be in. Trust the Lord. Yeah. And the Lord will provide something that, and it's not about the individual. This isn't about me and Heather coming together. Right. Though I'm very grateful that we are together and our families are united. But it really is just trusting the Lord in the moment. Yeah. And then the next day, show up, trust the Lord, go. Yeah. And that's what the Lord has always done. And surround yourself with a great community. I can't say thank you enough to who God brought in for the last 10 years, that when things just were heartbreaking, that the community that I was in really loved and cared and prayed us through. Yeah. And so that's it, man.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. You're a blessed man. A beloved son, man. A blessed 100%.
Hey, I'm a 12th man too. We didn't even talk about Russell Wilson with the Hawks.
We don't need to, because he's irrelevant now.
Yeah, he's irrelevant. But I would say Chase too, man. I'm proud of you, encouraged by you. Way to go. I don't know what a podcast is. I actually listened to my first podcast, Cody Churchill, today was my first one, because I'm like, oh, maybe I should kind of look at what we're doing here.
Yeah, good shout out. You didn't want to listen to any of the ones that I've done before this to get an idea of that.
I saw PT. I love PT. That's right, so I saw a little bit of PT, but I watched. I said, let me just listen to Cody Churchill, which, by the way, I did help him move. He didn't say anything about that in Tacoma. When you moved in Tacoma, I showed up with Samoans, bro. I had so many Samoans. We could have got everything done, and it was just like a small U-Haul. And my uncle goes like this. I thought you need help moving. This is nothing. We were done in 20 minutes. Usually when someone show up, it's like 6 hours of moving. We're in. We got pizza.
You've helped my family. You've helped my mom and dad move.
Yeah. I helped you guys move, man. Let me tell you, if you guys know Samoans, you know movers. Dude. And we'll show up. But I'm so proud of you. Thanks, and I'm encouraged by you. And I would just say the way that you love and care for people, and Holly as well, and your kids is a gift. And so if you're listening to this, I hope it provided something. I thought about Seinfeld, the show about nothing. Yeah. It really blessed me. And so I don't know what I was going to talk about, but the Lord would lead. And I pray that the Lord will bless you today, tonight, this morning, and that the fresh encounter that we talk with Jesus, that may you have it. Yeah. And may he leave you never the same.
Yeah. Yeah. Amen. Well, man, thanks for doing this, joining me. Thanks for being my friend, loving and caring for us, praying for us, supporting us, and just bringing a lot of joy to my life.
Let's go.
Excited for the things that God has in front of you.
Great things ahead.
Great things ahead, including, I think, there's another championship
Super Bowl
on the horizon.
Hey, I'm telling you right now, 2012. This season looks like a 2012
it does, dude.
cultivated season.
Really
Me and
does.
this guy go to Hawks games. I almost got in a fight with the 49ers. No. By the way, you know that guy is a comedian.
Is he really?
He was just in Tacoma last weekend. Luke.
No, you got his number probably.
Yeah, I got his number. Yeah, we sat in front of San Francisco 49er fans. It was terrible. We lost.
To all my Niner friends out there, God, I pray the Lord.
How many championships have you guys won in the last 20 years? Niner fans.
Oh gosh, let's see.
Okay. I think we got to go.
Thanks for being here, and man, yeah, you're the real deal.
Yeah,
So,
love you, brother.
Love you too, man. With that, thanks for listening. See you next time.